you became a billion-dollar founder at the age of 20. So you were the youngest person to become a billionaire at 20, right?
I wasn't a billionaire, but
the billion-dollar
yeah.
value. Yeah, you can, media.
Yeah.
Got it. Can you walk me through your childhood? Because your parents are immigrants from India, and I feel like immigrant upbringing really contributes to success of people. How were you growing up? Were like your parents pushing you towards traditional education? Was money an issue?
Yeah, so my parents came from India to the U.S. Luckily, when they're a little bit old, like little younger, versus my co-founders' parents. They came like I call them like it's like they got here last year. They were like fresh off the boat, but they had a lot of kind of traditional, Indian values. So going to school, doing a doctorate, becoming a doctor or an engineer, as much as it is a stereotype, it is true. They really pushed me growing up to be a doctor, and I just didn't want to do that. Like I always loved building things. So very early on, like the first thing they ever got me was a Lego set, and I started playing around with Legos, and I'm like, I like to build things. So how can I express my need to build things? And, I eventually discovered entrepreneurship, but that was like such an uncharted path and territory for anyone, in the Indian community that they kind of rejected it. And it's interesting because there was such like this kind of aversion to risk. So the idea of, spending money frivolously, taking risks, skipping college was a completely foreign concept to them. And for such a long time, they tried to push me in the direction of, you need to take the traditional path, you need to go down. But like I rebelled on it from an extremely early age. And for a while, I was just kind of confused until I figured out the kind of entrepreneurial path. And I just thought from like kind of a first principles perspective, I'm like, okay, what would college help me with? What would the traditional path help me with if I want to start a big business and become really successful in that, facet? And I couldn't really think of anything other than network. So I tried to understand if I can build a network on my own outside of going to university before you would even go to a university, and I could do that by cold emails, then I would, eliminate any need to have to go to a university. So
when did you understand this, that you're not going to do college?
I had started to say it at the end of like seventh, 8th grade. So I was like already kind of thinking about it, 6th grade, but at the end of 7th, 8th grade, I kind of knew I wasn't going to do it. And I remember like the story was there was this, honors society, and like at the end of school, they give all the kids awards for like who got first honors and second honors. And I remember I didn't get any of the awards because I decided I was no longer going to spend my time and effort on school, and my grades took a huge hit. And my parents were so depressed. They're like, we had a dinner after the graduation ceremony and everyone had a pouty face. I'm like, why are you guys so upset? And they're like, you didn't get first and second honors. How are you going to get into a good college? And my answer was like, I don't really care. I'm not going to go to college. And it just started this huge fight. And, I eventually kind of recovered from it, but it was, a really kind of challenging thing to, kind of change the conventional means.
Are your parents happy now?
Yes, I think they're happy.
Yeah?
Now.
Are they still
on the margins?
Like maybe PhD or like go back to college? No,
no.
Never?
I mean, I don't think college makes sense, but I think for the first time they're kind of starting to realize that college is not what it used to be, and there's tons of different paths in life. And the other interesting thing with AI is that information is going to be basically free and accessible to everyone. And most people aren't necessarily like in college. They teach you facts, they teach you things that you learn and you memorize, and like about different things. And I think that that's no longer going to matter. The thing that's going to matter is how do you learn how to learn? How do you learn how to, be a good person and communicate effectively and build things?
Solving problems, right?
And like, how do you dynamically problem solve? And like, the only way to do that is the real world. You can't learn how to problem solve in a class. Like, entrepreneurship classes make no sense to me because the only way to be an entrepreneur is to go be an entrepreneur. So I think that there's tons of different examples and a ton of different segments. So I saw Palantir is now looking to hire kids right out of high school and say, skip college, come work at Palantir, join as an apprentice. And I think there's going to be a number of companies that start to take that on. It's like, let's find the best and brightest high school students and let's have them skip college and let's have them shadow us, and they will learn more on the job in a 3-4 year period than, exponentially more than they would have learned in college.
So do you think there's still room for college in 10 years? Are there any types of people who would benefit from it?
I don't believe that I would send my children to college. I mean, if they really want to, great. I think it's a great way to be independent, but I think if you have a job and you live with your friends, I think that's also another way to be independent. So I think there's other ways to get the same benefits you would have gotten in college in the real world. I don't really know if I think there is a tremendous amount of benefit to go to a non-top school if you're looking to start a company. If you are looking to be a doctor or a lawyer, you kind of have to go to college, and that's the path.
But you think is AI going to remove that as well for those professions?
Maybe. I think it'll change the bar. It'll change how people are taught.
Yeah.
But if you want to be an entrepreneur, if you want to start a company, I think just starting a company is the best way to do it.
And went back to building company.
Yes, exactly.
How interesting. Because I'm coming from this background, bachelor's, master's, study abroad, but I totally see the point in what you're saying. And I feel like my daughters, when they're going to grow up, it's not going to be a traditional path. It's going to be something different. Probably some type of education, probably like AI simulated.
Yeah, it'll probably be
business.
AI. It's like, how do you work with AI? How do you communicate? Who knows? I mean, maybe there's a super intelligence and we don't exist by then, but hopefully that doesn't happen.